Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and online violin tutor. Now in today's video I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons why your violin might not be sounding very good. But before we do go any further, I just want to say hello to all the new people watching this video and all my new subscribers. And I just want to very quickly tell you about my 1 to 30 violin course. For those of you that are here watching and just started the violin or about to learn to play the violin, doing a little bit of research, not really quite sure where to start, I have a fantastic 1 to 30 violin course that I just very quickly want to tell you all about. It's amazing and it guarantees to get you going straight away. So my 1 to 30 violin course is a fully comprehensive and professional course that guarantees to take you from a complete beginner to an accomplished intermediate level by the end of it. The course is very simple and easy to understand without the commitment of an in-person tutor, but it does guarantee to give you the same level of skill that you would get from a private tutor. The course has been designed so that anyone of any age and any level can follow it. The lessons and videos are super easy to follow and absolutely no prior knowledge of any instrument or music is needed to start this course. The course is going to cover everything from how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, how to read music. There's going to be some technical exercises in there to prove your skill and dexterity, music theory, bowing techniques, more complex pieces, and just much more. There's no other course like this available on the internet, and the results and reviews absolutely speak for themselves. My course will take you from this to this. The course is fully downloadable, is available worldwide, and you can purchase from my shop, www.amsmusicshop.com. It is $59.99 US, and you can get started straight away. I should add in that these books are 100% downloadable, so there is nothing physical that will be shipped out to you. So all you're going to need is your violin and bow and your enthusiasm to get started. I'd also just like to quickly mention as well about my 2 subscription websites. I've got a Patreon one and I've got my own one, onlineviolin.tutor.com. Both of them are exactly the same. They're just subscription websites, $10 monthly, but they give you access to my complete back catalogue of violin sheet music. There's some violin cover pieces in there as well. There's a little bit of easy piano music. There's some violin backing tracks. There's a couple of other bits and bobs as well. It's a $10 monthly subscription, but the catalogue is added to on a monthly basis. And off the top of my head, there are, I think, just over 800 sheets of easy violin sheet music that you can quickly gain access to. But it's either or, so don't subscribe. There's no need to subscribe to both of them. Either subscribe to my Patreon, either subscribe to my website. All the details will be underneath this video for you. Okay, so the first reason why your violin might not be sounding too good is too much rosin or too little rosin on the bow, for the opposite spectrum of that. So if you have too much rosin on the bow, you're going to get a lot of scratch on the bow. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate that for you because I don't want to put particularly too much rosin on this bow, because then it's going to be a bit of a nightmare to play it off, especially if I'm playing at weddings and performances and things. But if you have too much rosin on the bow, it's not the end of the world. Just play it off. It is going to be quite a bit scratchy for, you know, a good week or two, depending on how much you're actually playing. but just don't apply any more for a good while. If you apply rosin weekly, for example, which sometimes, I mean, it's all you need. You don't need to rosin your violin every single time you play the violin. If you do that, you will be over rosining your violin. Far too much rosin. People think they need quite a lot of rosin when in actual fact they don't. Especially if you've got a very good quality rosin as well, you really don't need to use so much rosin. If you've got a cheaper rosin, then yes, it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you've got a cheaper rosin, you'll need to use more rosin, then you'll create more scratch. They are quite scratchy, they are quite gritty, and they are quite dusty. If you have a slightly better quality violin, the one I personally use is this one. It's Sartori rosin. If I can find a link, I'll link it underneath this video. It is reasonably expensive as far as rosins go, but they do last you years, and they are very good investments, and they will affect the sound that the bow is making on the violin. So, you know, it's almost like, what kind of petrol would you put in your car? Would you put really cheap, nasty, watered down petrol, knowing that, you know, it's really not going to do your car any good? Or would you put really good, high quality petrol in your car that is going to last a lot longer, make the engine work a little bit better, less harder, you know, etc., etc. It's a very similar analogy. What kind of petrol, diesel, whatever would you put in your car? So if you have a good quality rosin, you're going to get very little scratch, very little grit, and just very little dust, and overall it's going to sound a lot better. But as I said, if you do over rosin your bow by mistake, just play it off and don't rosin it for quite a while. If you have too little rosin, if you're the other end of that, then you're going to find that the sound fades out a little bit. So the sound is it's just going to be a little bit more hollow kind of sounding. It will just fade out a little bit. It just won't have enough bite and enough power to it that it once did, maybe when you had rosin on a week or so ago. So if that's the case, just apply a little bit of rosin. You don't need to do too much. Maybe just a few swipes up and down. If you've got a good quality rosin, that is. If I was putting rosin on this bow, I would just give it just maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swipes up and down. That's it. I'm good to go for another week or so. So having too much or too little rosin is going to hugely affect the sound of your violin as well, but also the quality of the rosin is going to hugely affect the sound as well. The most problem is when it sounds really gritty and scratchy. So if that's the case, I would very much look to see what kind of rosin that you're using, and or how much rosin you have put on the bow. Okay, the second reason why your violin probably doesn't sound very good is that you are bowing everywhere but the one place that you should be. So this comes down to a little bit about posture and playing in the right place. But assuming that we are doing that, we want to be bowing, let's say, roughly in between the bridge and the fingerboard, more or less. So that's where you're probably going to get a good sound. Some people do like to bow a little bit closer to the bridge, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to say in the middle. So if you keep your bow nice and consistently in the middle, you're going to get the best sound. But when you are new at playing the violin, you're not really understanding where your bow arm needs to be to keep it straight. So you can see everything is straight here. So what people tend to do is bow like this, because you're bowing from the shoulder and you should be bowing from the elbow. Shoulder should not be moving. So if you are bowing from the shoulder and you're doing this, you can now see that the bow is all the way over here, and then it's back in the middle, then it's all the way over here, it's back in the middle. You're going to find it hard to kind of isolate the strings as well, because obviously you can't do that. You're going to be hitting the side of the violin. So make sure that you are bowing in the right place all the time. And if that means playing in front of a mirror to make sure that your bow arm is straight, then absolutely play in front of a mirror to do that. But set up the violin the way it should be. I've got plenty of videos on this already on my channel. I can link some if I can find them. They'll be underneath this video. But you need to be bowing mostly from the elbow. Never from the arm. Never from the top of the arm here. The top of the arm should never be going further back than your body. And the third reason that you might not be getting a good sound out of your violin is intonation or finger placement. So the one thing I suggest for this is to put some dots on your violin. So I've already got them here anyway. I'm always making videos for you guys on YouTube, so that's the reason why I have the dots there. Not because I actually need them now, but just because I'm always making videos, so I'm always taking them off, putting them on, taking them off, putting them on. So I tend to just leave them on. So put some dots on your violin. Now I have a video on where to put the dots. I'll link that underneath. And some teachers don't like teaching with the dots on the violin. I am one of them that do. However, if you'll notice, I only have 2 dots on the violin. The first one is where the first finger would go, and the blue one, or the second one, is where the third finger would go. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of those don't fret stickers that have all of the lines going up there. 1, they're super duper confusing. 2, they're a bit of a pain to get on and off the neck of the violin. 3, they're just very hard to see very quickly. 4, I just find them just more irritating and just more frustrating, and I think your fingers don't really ever learn where they're supposed to go because they're not very accurate and you're not really looking at where they're supposed to go. But if you've got a first finger dot and you've got a third finger dot, everything else can be worked out from there. So I don't mind the dots to start with, and I think they're very good, because how can you train your ear and your finger to go down in the right place if A, your ear doesn't know what the sound of your first finger is supposed to be like yet, obviously assuming that you're starting out on the violin, and 2, you haven't gained enough muscle memory with the first finger. So if you don't have a dot on the violin and your teacher is telling you that you've got to listen, it's very hard to listen when you don't have a frame of reference and you've got nothing to kind of go by. So I like to have the dot to start with so that your finger can always go down in the right place. Eventually you'll take that dot away and your finger will automatically go down in the right place, accompanied by the sound that your ear is telling you whether that finger is right or not, and you've got a perfect combination. The third finger is the same, and then the second finger will either go next to the first, as you'll find out when you start following my course, or whatever, and the second finger will go next to the third finger. The fourth finger will then be put on suitably after that as well. So all you need is the first and third. You don't need any other dots, and that's about as minimum I think you can get away with while still learning, while still picking up the sound on your ear. So that's one thing that you can do. Try putting dots on your violin. Absolutely zero shame in doing that. Just don't have them on for any longer than you need to. Then when you take them off, boom, your intonation will be perfect. You can just carry on. I just think you might end up struggling if you don't have those dots on. So I hope this video has helped you. Thank you very much for watching. All the links to my Patreon and or my website subscription and my 1 to 30 violin course will be underneath this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.